Welcome back. In our spotlight this morning, accused parent killer, 17-year-old Sarah Grace Patrick, is expected to appear in a Georgia courtroom today to make another plea to the judge to give her a bond. Patrick is accused of killing her mother, Kristen, and her stepfather, James Brock, back in February of last year. But she wasn't arrested until July after making several chilling social media posts, even giving the eulogy at their funeral. Now, she's charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault. And at her last bond hearing, relatives testified that they were afraid of her.
If the defendant can kill her own parents in such a violent manner, I fear for my own safety and the safety of my family and friends.
So is Sarah Grace Patrick a danger to society? Let's talk about that. So pleased to welcome in double board certified psychiatrist, Dr. Domenick Sportelli. Dr. Dom, good morning to you. Okay, if you could personally evaluate Sarah Grace Patrick, would you explain to us the kind of questions you would ask and really what you would try to get to answer that question of how dangerous this child is?
Good morning, Julie. Thank you for having me as usual. And absolutely, what an interesting case and what a tragic case. So the first thing that I would think of when it comes to forensic psychiatry, meaning trying to understand the mind of somebody who potentially did something so horrible, would be to look at the motives, right? That's the first thing that I would really assess. When we look at parricide, which is the murder of a parent, we look at very, very common motives. The most common one, Julie, is chronic abuse. So we would evaluate her circumstances at home. The other ones are psychosis, but that doesn't seem to fit because that would be a very disorganized murder. The other one is severe family dysfunction. Now, in this, we might have something because we know there was divorce, we know there was potential abuse. Another would be emotional crisis, poor impulse control. But with poor impulse control, Julie, there wouldn't be any long-term planning. It would almost be a crime of passion. The other thing in her case, I would look for antisocial traits, which, you know, what are her goals to do this? Was it freedom? Was it money? Was it escape? And the other one that might have a play in this too would be allegiance to another person that was influential, perhaps a boyfriend. So that's how I would really frame this. I would say, okay, let's look at motives. And then now that she's being held and we're looking about safety, what I would look at now is what we call the neuropsychological evaluation, which they are certainly doing. And I know that, I don't know that that's been released yet or if it even will be released, but in a neuropsychological evaluation, Julie, what they're really looking at is, does the person have competency? Meaning, you know, are they aware of what is even going on? What is their risk? And that's the big question here. What is their risk of flight? What is their risk to self or others if they're released? This neuropsych eval too, Julie, will look at their developmental maturity, right? So even though she's like 17 or so, how developmentally mature is she? And then finally, they're going to look at what's called her psychiatric or neurodiagnosis. Now, based on all of this, Julie, and I know this is a lot, her current mental state, any substance use involved, her insight, meaning, does she really even know what potentially happened here? What is her insight and explanation into this? What is her emotional regulation? What are potential antisocial traits? Is there the history of trauma or abuse? So these are all the things that they're going to look at before they actually decide, hey, is she safe to go back into the community until her trial?
Wow. Dr. Dom, I want to come to one of your lectures. This is so fascinating. We are hanging on to every word here. We have a clip we want you to take a look at, please. So this is one of many of Sarah Grace's TikToks. She liked TikToking, and apparently she was reaching out to some true crime influencers, telling them about the case. This is before she was arrested, when she perhaps wasn't even viewed as a suspect. Who knows? Police were pretty quiet. Let's take a look.
He doesn't know it, but a year from now, our family will be torn apart, and I will move far away and won't see or talk to him for 5 years. I'm feeling so
tired. Ooh, Dr. Dom, tell us what you're thinking as you're watching that, please.
Yeah, so of course, just like anybody, you don't have to be a board certified psychiatrist to find that challenging to watch. Now, there are a few things to think about here. There is the reality that that generation, her generation, use social media as an outlet. Okay, so let's put that on the table. However, there's a very significant concern here with her ability to cope with challenges. If her parents were murdered, if her parents are deceased and she's grieving, was it quote unquote appropriate? Was it normal to go online and present that way? And that's the big question. And when they do a neuropsychological evaluation, again, developmental maturity, where does she stand? Is that congruent with what she did? Because if she's not very emotionally developed, then maybe she would do something like that, go online and let the world know what's happening and be dramatic and crying. But if she's coming across as somebody that has an intellectual anything, if her IQ is significant, if her emotional maturity is within normal limits, then now that's almost a behavior that shows that there's a dramatic flair, there's something else, there's another motive for doing that. And that's where it becomes questionable and really challenging. So I think the neuropsychological evaluation is really going to clue us in.
Definitely. Wow. Dr. Dom, one last quick question for you, please. There's another child in the family, as you know. Sarah Grace Patrick has a younger sister who found her mom and dad on that dreadful day, shot to death in the home. The sister's considerably younger, and the concern I keep thinking about, and I'm wondering if this is valid from a psychiatry standpoint, is if she's given a bond and allowed back in whatever home that child is perhaps being taken care of in, is she going to be problematic for that younger sister's development?
Yeah, the answer there, Julie, is what was the relationship like prior? Were they close? Were they supportive? Did they get along well? And what is their relationship like now? And how does that little girl view her bigger sister? So a lot of questions there. But on the other point, it could be a very traumatic experience having her sister come home if that young child views her sister as somebody potentially dangerous or just not well.
Wow. Dr. Dom Sportelli, always excellent insight from you. Thank you for making time to see us this morning. We know you have a very busy schedule. And friends at home, do yourself a favor. If you're not already following him, follow Dr. Sportelli on Instagram. Loving all the videos you've been doing. They're really, really insightful and helpful, certainly with so many of the cases we come across. We'll see you soon, Doc.